from Beit Shemesh and broadcasted around the world. You are listening to the From Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Nahum Kligman. Interviews and advice from Jewish entrepreneurs from around the world. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.
Welcome to episode 37 of the From Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining us for another fantastic episode where we try to encourage you and try to teach you and hope that you can learn from the advice that the entrepreneurs we interview that we bring. I have an exciting guest with us today, Zishe Schnitzler, who is the CEO of The Clear Advantage. It's going to be, I have recently met him and I've come to love him. It's going to, he has a lot to share, a lot going on. So Zishe, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for this episode.
Yeah, thank you, Nahum, for having me.
So Zishe, just to get things started, why don't you give us like a 30-second, 45-second overview of what is the Clear Advantage?
The Clear Advantage is basically here to serve entrepreneurs that are already successful in the way that they already succeeded with bringing their ideas into a business and making it work. But now when it comes to grow their business, the existing business is sort of bogging them down, and the Clear Advantage is there to provide the clarity so they can move on and grow their business and take on more projects aside of what they have already done.
Beautiful. So basically it's for people that already have a business. And it happens a lot of times. People that get into businesses, they're successful, but the question is, okay, now how do I grow this? How do we expand and how do we, work on our success? So that's what you come in to do. You help is it the coaching or is it more consulting?
So basically it is sort of everything. I don't consider myself a coach. I look at it as a coach as a person who can help a person change his habits and these kind of things. And changing people is not really my strong point, and I actually try to stay away from it completely because there are people that are better than me. I don't try to do that. So the thing that I do is basically just keeping the consistency, and it breaks down to three ways that it actually works. It's either that I'm just there as a partner in the journey. CEOs are extremely alone. They don't have really with whom they have employees, but they don't have in business someone with whom to speak to and discuss things and get their decision, because we really know what we want to do. It's just that we have so many different voices sort of in our head that we need to decide on what do we really want to do. Mm-hmm. And if you have another person with whom to discuss it, someone that knows business and someone that you can rely on, that himself, he's not there with his own agenda, but rather to make sure that your agenda happens. So that's where I just help the person as a partner, just make sure that he keeps on growing in his journey rather than just wasting time and energy just sitting around and not knowing what he wants to do. And the other thing is that a lot of entrepreneurs, I found that they open the business not really because they're great at being a business owner, at managing a business, but rather they're an entrepreneur, someone who knows how to do things that most other people say that it's impossible. But when it comes to managing their business, they get a little overwhelmed. It pulls them down when they think about, now I'll have to deal with my employees to make sure that this happens. And I told them something last week, it still didn't happen. And it brings them down sort of spiritually, it brings them down their emotional self. So it makes it harder on them to advance their business. So that's where I come in and I take care as an interim COO to help make sure that he can continue grow his business and do whatever is necessary without having the fear of how will I keep my employees coming along with me. And so his employees are there to help him rather than be a weight on him. And the third thing is basically project management. If someone has a full schedule, he has a full calendar, but he has this great idea that he wants to add to his business, his team is full, everything is established, but they don't have time to start, and usually what happens is you start, then a problem comes up in the existing business, you stop, 3 months later you remember again, and you stay by wanting, and it never happens. So I'm just there to make sure that it happens. We usually hire outside help because his resources in the business are usually strained already. So we do whatever is necessary so that he gets, that he accomplishes whatever he wants to accomplish in business.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to dig into this a little bit deeper a little bit later in the show, but I want to hear a little bit more about you. What's your story? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What schools you went to? Where do you live now? All that great stuff. So.
Okay, so I actually had an interesting schooling. It was an interesting thing by me. So I grew up in Monsey. I was born in Monsey, in Suffern, close to Monsey.
Right.
And I grew up in Monsey, and actually my father was a Satmar Chusid.
Mm.
And but he didn't have much with Satmar. You know, he moved out. He was one of the first people, Hasidic people at least, when Yeshiva there were many and big Gedolim in Monsey by that time already. But from the Hasidic, he was like from the first people to move out to Monsey. And when the old Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoel, passed away, he didn't have any big connection with Satmar anymore. But, you know, the kids went to Satmar Chayden and everything.
But he was close with Rabbi Yoel?
Yeah, because he was a Bucher in Yeshiva then, so, you know, so it was, yeah. But then he got connected to the Vizhnitzer Rebbe in Monsey.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was that actually while I was in school, we sort of switched over from Satmar Chayden to Vizhnitz. Which,
you could do that? Like, you could just switch over?
In our circles, that's like, whoa, you know? Satmar is like, Satmar if you go to the Vechidus, right? If you go to vote in Israel, you're like the biggest Shaygit. You're not allowed to do anything. And in Vizhnitz, it's like, you know, the Rebbe said you have to go. So, you know, it's like, although Monsey is a little bit more anti-Zionist than in Israel than his brother was, but it was a huge change for me. So, yes. Mm-hmm. So I had, so I saw two very different views growing up and different cultures, which was actually very interesting to me, you know, because it told me a lot about people, about environments and everything, but it wasn't interesting. And then in Vizhnitz, I continued in Yeshiva, in Gibbers.
In Monsey.
And then Yeshiva Gedole, I went to Fershay. I don't know if you know it, Kamlai B'Schnottenberg in Monsey. There's an area.
I know the Fershay area.
Yeah, so there's a Fershay area, and he's like the Chassidish Rebbe in Fershay. Uh-huh. He had the yeshiva for a little while, and when he opened it up, I went there to learn. So till I got married.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you got married, and now you live in Monsey still.
So actually, I got married to Williamsburg. And I also worked that wherever the wife lives, that's where you go to live. So I went to live to Williamsburg. I lived there actually for 3 years. And we were living in a one-bedroom apartment in Williamsburg, you know, in Brooklyn. And we had to move into a second-bedroom apartment, to a two-bedroom, whatever. And then the mishpacha grew, and what happened is we started looking over prices, and then, you know, it was like a two-bedroom, I think was like $1,800, a nice size.
Right.
And I was like, for $1,800, I'm not going to pay rent, you know, we can maybe buy something, pay a little more, whatever. So we went around shopping, and my son Williamsburg, it wasn't shy to buy anything for that price range. So we decided, me and my wife, that we're rather going to buy something, let's move to Monsey, where it's still affordable to buy.
Right.
So that's what we did, Baruch Hashem. We bought, it was like in 2008 or 2009, I think. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. There was hard times, but prices were great then. So we were able to get a great deal, Baruch Hashem, in Monsey. So now we live in Monsey. And we're
beautiful. So you're back home.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. So how'd you get into this? Like, how'd you get into, you know, first of all, you're always entrepreneurial. You're always into, it sounds to me like the clear advantage. It's really about getting, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs out there are not focused. They're more visionaries. They have great ideas. They're great marketers and storytellers, but getting the details done. And I know that's a problem with me is I always needed a good COO next to me because, you know, it's always the devil's in the details, and I hated the details. So is that like what you come to do? You come to fill in those details to do the work that makes a company flow and grow and do things properly?
That is exactly what I do. I deal with the details, and I am sort of the polar opposite of an entrepreneur. I'm like totally different, you know, and the reason how I got introduced to entrepreneurship is that both my father and my mother are both extremely entrepreneurial spirited people, and my father was always in business, you know, he tried this, he tried that. Not always with success, you know, growing up. And at the same time, my mother was also trying because, you know, you need to feed the family. So they were like both sort of an entrepreneurial journeys as I was growing up. So what happened was that to me, growing up, I always looked at the entrepreneur as the other guy, the crazy guy, the stupid guy, you know, you don't get it, come on, you know, why are you jumping so much? Come on, it's not real, it's not going to happen, you know, stop dreaming. And that's really the way I grew up, and it's sort of, and I always had a hard time understanding my people, my parents, although I truthfully appreciated them for what they brought to the table and respected them. And unfortunately, my father passed away, but my mother's still alive, and I still appreciate her, and I understand. But it was sort of other people. What happened, the real breaking point was when my oldest daughter was born. She has Down syndrome. And when she was born, I was like convinced, there's so many kids with Down syndrome that are not doing well and everything, probably the parents I was an extremely judgmental person. Let's put it this way. So I was like, probably they're not doing the right thing. So that's why the kids are not growing up well. I'll do the right things and it's just going to do and everything. And as she started developing, I had like this aha moment that,
right.
Zishe, you may be very smart and very perfect and very proper, but the world isn't exactly the way you see it. And that's what was like the second that I have, that an entrepreneur, if he doesn't deal with the details, it's not that he is stupid, that he has a dream and he doesn't want to deal with the details. That's when I started understanding that some people are good at certain things. I sort of judged until then the entire world outside of my classes. And whatever I saw, I saw everyone. And if you're not doing it, then obviously you're just lazy. You're just, good for nothing.
Right. Wow.
But that's when it really opened my mind that, no, people are different.
You did tshuva.
Yes, exactly. So that's really when I stopped judging the world and started listening to it and see everyone, their malas, and see everyone how... And started really appreciating the scent, the taste that comes together from everyone's good things as long as everyone works together properly.
So it's amazing. I mean, we spoke a little bit about before. I also have a special needs child, and when you're a parent of a special needs child, you learn and you grow so much from having these children. So your daughter really, she opened up your eyes to that just because things are not a certain way, it doesn't mean that they're bad or wrong.
It doesn't mean that it's bad. And other people, I was sure that she's going to be walking on time because we're going to do therapy. And then I saw, hey, she's not walking, we're doing everything right. So it's sort of opened my mind that it's not that what I can do, I should expect from everyone. And that if people do other things that I don't do, then they're wasting their time. It's just the opposite. Every person has their uniqueness and extreme uniqueness. And the reason why they don't do the things that I do is because they're doing something else that I can't do. And I should appreciate that. And I shouldn't sort of bring them down for the part that they're not doing that I do well.
Interesting. Very interesting. So basically, you're an entrepreneur's best friend.
Correct. That's when I turned into it.
That's what you turned it. But I have a secret to tell you. You are an entrepreneur because, the clear advantage, this is your business. This is what you're going out and doing. You could have gotten a job working for any company or working for, any business full time, but you decided to go the route of having your own business and helping other businesses. So what led you to that decision? What made you say, hey, I want to, instead of getting a full-time job or whatever, working for one specific company and becoming, a part of the executive team there, what made you say, hey, I want to go on my own and help these businesses, in sort of a part-time fashion, or, I don't know what the average time you spend with the client. I don't know if it's a month or 6-month project, but, why'd you decide to go this route?
The real reason is that, Baruch Hashem, I started out working, actually went to Copa. Zishe Schnitzler has a month in, whatever, then it was in Manhattan. They have here in New York a program for Ingalat, Yeshivalat, whatever, who start out in, they have to start bringing Panus into bread on the table, that they can start. They used to have programming, they have accounting, I'm not sure.
Who's this?
Zishe Schnitzler.
Oh, good to see. Okay.
So
they do fantastic work, especially the last few years. They've been coming out with more and more programming to help people with Parnassa and stuff. Fantastic stuff.
Yes, exactly. So I went to them for a junior accounting, they called it, and I was actually planning maybe to go further in accountant, to become an accountant. And what happened was actually that my daughter was born right when I finished the course over there, and we were shocked that she has Down syndrome. So I decided it changed everything in my life, of course, and I had to take sort of a break. I didn't know how things are going to settle, how things are going to work out. So I decided, let me go take a job first. Let me see what the world is like, and then I'll decide if I really want to be an accountant. Maybe I want to be I don't know, you name it. I don't know. But let me go work in an office.
Right.
And Cope actually got me this amazing opportunity by a big company. a bigger company at least, not GM, but a nice sized company.
Okay.
And I loved the opportunity because for me it was like I'll have so many opportunities to see so many different positions. I'll be able to choose between them and learn more about the world and everything and business and everything. So I decided that I'm going to...
Just to be clear, so before this point in your life, so you never had a business. You weren't like, doing businesses when you were younger, or this is something like you came out of the yeshivish world, the Hasidish, I guess, world, and then you said, hey, now it's time to make parnasa. And so you went and you took this course from G'dai Yisrael, and then that led to trying to find where you are now.
Correct, yes. But I do remember once as a young child, my father was for some, an entrepreneurial spirited person. So one of the things that he was doing, he had sort of, I don't know how it's called, what type of store, sort of like Amazing Savings.
Right.
So he had a lot of stuff laying around at home that, that he, I don't know why he didn't sell, I was too young to understand that part. But I remember he had Parker pens and some other stuff. So I remember that I set up a table in front of my house and I put up sales signs, like,
oh, there you go.
Sell to people driving by.
See that? You are an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I guess I don't know. I guess I got something from my parents. I'm not
right.
But I look at it as an entrepreneur as someone who just loves risk and someone who is just going to continue doing it. When I thought, while I was going into the career advantage, before I thought of maybe buying my own business, and I decided that opening my own business, like a real business, this is a service, but helping other people, where I would be the entrepreneur, where I would have to be that person who takes the risk. I thought of myself as I'll get burned out. And even buying a business, I thought that, I'll do it, but I won't have what it takes to grow the business beyond where I bought it. So that's where I decided, to me, working with entrepreneur is like, sort of, because I'm not an entrepreneur, that's why I know that if I work with an entrepreneur, we both can do amazing things.
Right. It's basically, it's a partnership. You're helping him reach his goals and reach his dreams, and you sit quietly behind the mask, I guess, doing the details, making sure things are going smooth and things are flowing.
Correct. And the real breaking point is, Baruch Hashem, I started working in that company. I was supposed to work there for a year. Ended up working for 7. And Baruch Hashem, I grew through the levels until mamish the top. To get a promotion from where I was, basically someone had to get fired or chas v'shulam die. It wasn't to this. And I didn't really have the ability to I couldn't see myself grow any further within the next 5, let's say 10 years. And what happened was that my father unfortunately passed away at the time. So what it did to me, it really shook me up in 2 ways. Number one, that if someone does not have a death from a relative, a young person, my father was only 59 when he passed away, then it's hard to understand what it is like when you're dead.
Right.
So it gave me a great understanding what a person looks like when they're dead and how they can't do anything anymore. And it's like the end of the game. If you want to do something, you had the chance until then. From there on, there's nothing you can do.
The more we're speaking, the more you sound like you keep saying you're not an entrepreneur, but these are entrepreneurial motives. This is what motivates somebody. He says, you only have one life. I'm not going to sit around working for someone else. I'm going to do something that I love. I'm not going to sit, in some 9-to-5 job where there's no room for growth. You want to take over the world. You're an entrepreneur.
I guess you know what? You're starting to convince me, but but I feel like I'm an entrepreneur in my mind, but not in spirit,
Right.
And then, being that he was young too, it also shook me up that, Zishe, if you want to do something, you better do it now. You don't know how long you're going to live, and you don't know when you're going to have the chance. So I decided against waiting 20 years, because at the place that I worked, although I did amazing things, Baruch Hashem, but ended up being that I was mostly a politician over there, rather than doing important things. Basically, in a big company, you have the different groups, a lot of politics. So I was basically there pushing through things, not because I really did what I love to do, strategize and everything, because I already did that. And 90% of my job was making sure that it goes through by, working the the things that need to happen in order that things should get carried through. And I was sort of tired, because my plan was not to become a politician. I just still don't plan on that. I was like, why am I wasting my time? If I would have been able to do 10 times as many amazing things, then I would love to do it. But if I can only do 10% because I need to waste my other 90% doing those things, then I'm not interested. So that's when I decided. Growing up, I saw a lot how my father, that it was also like an emotional thing for me, how he, the hard times that he went through because he only had the entrepreneurial side to himself and he didn't like the details. And he grew up in a very different environment. I don't know how it was, how it's in the yeshivish world, but in the Chiddush world, especially the generation after the Holocaust, it was like saying that you have help from another person or you need help from another person in order to succeed or to be Mitzliach extremely well was like the worst thing. Then you're not worth anything. So my father used to ask me sometimes, he used to discuss with me some business matters. Later years, he was very Mitzliach Baruch Hashem. And I always felt like, I'm still young. You sure you want to rely on my opinion? And I always shied away from it. When he passed away, I sort of felt very guilty for it because, at that point, I guess I've already grown and I already saw what I really bring to the table. And I was like, why didn't I help him? Why, it was a Nevis in the wrong place,
Right.
So I decided that I'll do exactly that. Why should other people suffer? And it's also something, whatever. I'm a little bit into emotions, whatever. There's an organization, Eisele B'chirim, they help Bukhrim, whatever, and I try to help them.
What's the name of the organization?
Eisele B'chirim. It's like a help for Bukhrim. And it's meant for Bukhrim that are struggling, and they're helping them with whatever they need. Therapy, better yeshivas, and everything. And, of course, everything costs money.
Right.
So they're always, whatever. I try to help them. I give them every month a certain set amount, and I'm trying to help them as much as possible. But it also got me thinking in a certain way. I analyze everything that I come across. So it got me thinking about Yiddishkeit, about money, about everything. So what the picture that I got is that in order in America we get a lot of assistance, sort of. We try to get assistance from the government for the Chadudim, but once we get money from them, they sort of dictate what we want to do. For now, it's still okay, but you never know what is going to happen, especially in Canada and another place with the world going so crazy and liberal becoming something that if you don't agree with me, then you're wrong, instead of, let everyone believe what they want.
Right. Which is why a Republican has to win the elections.
Yeah. it is a fear that sort of I have. Maybe I'm over scared, but that we need to be self-reliant in order to be continue, especially, I saw the organization, they have such a hard time raising money for the Bukhrim. If money would have been very common amongst us, then they wouldn't have so many problems. We wouldn't have so many problems, and so many families that are having problems because they have someone in the family making sort of trouble, would be able to get settled only with a few dollars. So that's sort of that gave me this push that if I can go help those who have the ability to make the big money, it's just that they have something that I can give them that's going to allow them to make the big money, then I can solve so many problems at once.
Beautiful. Plus, you're doing what you love to do.
Yeah, plus I'm doing what I love to do. Exactly. So that's really how I got to this. It's sort of put together an entire puzzle that if this is what I can do, then I'll be, Baruch Hashem, successful in always. Gashmiz dig, Rachnius, it's like I feel always at work that I do Rachnius and Gashmiz at once.
Right. Beautiful. So how much time do you usually spend with the client? Is it a month thing, or are there clients that you'll spend 6 months with?
I usually try to be involved in the business very little, but I did not have a client yet that just let go of me, finish.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's good.
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. Yes, as just that as time moves on, I always have more and more people on the back burner, so I hope it's not going to get clogged one day.
Right.
But Baruch Hashem, we do Baruch Hashem. When we saw amazing atzlucha, and even when the business is taking off up sort of a life of their own and things are working, they still like me to be involved and call me here and there, just because we always have our days. So they always want to stay connected, Baruch Hashem.
Do you ever take equity in a company, or is it always just cash?
I actually have 3 instances where I took equity in the company.
Mm-hmm.
One is a technology company, and by the way, I love technology. So
there you go.
that is where they got me. They were like, we can't pay you any money, but if you want to work for equity, I loved the project. And it was the third option that I offer, like a side project for a big company.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me some equity in the company, and we actually... I committed myself to work for them for up to 3 years to make sure that the project is completed, and Baruch Hashem, it's going very well.
Excellent.
And the other one is with I don't want to say the name of the company, but it's with a single owner that is in the packaging line,
mm-hmm.
and that person has extreme. He has like 10 to 15 years experience in the line. And he started growing the business, but it was going very slowly because he was afraid of doing, let's say, missteps.
Okay. He was overly careful, not a risk taker.
Exactly, yes. So I help him basically because I have the 2 sides to myself, like you said. Now, I can see it sort of. I have the entrepreneurial side and I have the careful side. So I can sort of, with him, I can be there to like push him one day. Okay, so what's going to be next? Let's grow it. You have this big goal. Well, how are we going to get there? But from the other side, he knows that I'm not just going to give him motivation without being careful about not letting him do. I'm also keeping him back from doing some things if, I'm sort of a devil's advocate. If he can sort of convince me that he needs to do it and that it's a good idea, he won't do it, but it gives him sort of a peace of mind that he can himself that if we discuss something and he does it, that at least it's something that makes sense, that it's a shtadlus that should be in tzlacha.
Excellent.
And Baruch Hashem, last month happens to be, he made like a huge amount, tons of profit. It's not like I can't take any credit for it because I'm only a partner in the journey. I don't have any expertise and anything, but somehow he was able to do amazing things simply because I was there, So
fantastic.
It's amazing.
That's great. All right. So first, I saw you had an article about you in Inc. magazine.
Correct. Yes.
How'd that come about? How does a Chassidish guy from Muncie get into Inc.?
That came about because I wrote an article.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent it to Rabbi Summer Ginsburg. I don't know if you know him.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, okay. So I sent it to him, and he was like, wow, this is amazing, Let me show it to my friend.
Ismar's a great guy, great entrepreneur. That's true. If you think about a Hasidic guy that got an article in Inc., you would think Ismar would be the first guy that comes to mind.
Yeah, so I showed it to him, and the guy really liked it, but he was like, I'm not going to put in the article, but let me get an interview with you.
Fantastic. No, that's great. It's beautiful. Amazing. Okay, so let's get to what we call our lightning round, where we'll get some quick questions, and let's see where it goes. So, what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice. I got so many and so much advice that it's hard for me to choose. In every situation, there's another that's right. For some reason, I guess because I davened Shachris today, there's. In Ashray, there's a couple of words that speaks tremendously to me, and I always feel like that's like the best word of advice that I see every day, and it's from Shlomo HaMelech directly, from David, sorry. And so, Kudu Hashem l'chol kodev l'chol hashikru'i b'emes. That says that Hashem is close to everyone if you call him with an emes dikait. So what it tells to me every day is that whatever you want to do, you can just do, but just speak to Hashem with an open heart. He'll be there to help you. Just mean it, and you'll succeed.
That's beautiful. So your best advice comes from David HaMelech. I love that. That's great. That's beautiful and so true. So true. All right, what book would you recommend to our listeners, and why?
I assume that every listener on the podcast is an entrepreneur or someone,
Well, most of them are. My mother also listens. So my mom.
Yeah. The best book that I have read that spoke to me in my journey, although I'm not a true entrepreneur, I'm in the
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm in the mishpucha at least, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There's a book by Ben Horowitz. I don't know. I think he's the guy who started Netscape.
Oh, from Andrew Horowitz.
Yeah, yes, exactly. From the Netscape, he started the first browser, and then Microsoft came out with their free Internet Explorer, which turned his company entirely upside down. So it's sort of every entrepreneur. Somewhere in his journey, he probably encountered something like this. So he wrote a book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and it's basically building a business when there are no easy answers. And it was a huge chizuk to me because when I started out, I was looking for answers. To me, everything is 1 + 1 = 2, and I was lost. There's no one who can tell me 1 + 1 = 2. So I loved the book because it told me that don't worry. 1 plus question mark always is also going to equal 2 because there is no one.
Huh.
So what it told me, it gave me sort of the hint that, we can only do a status. We can only do whatever. If it doesn't work, just go to the next, the sooner you'll start the next cycle, the next try, the sooner you'll succeed because there is no clear answer. And
beautiful. Okay, so we're going to link to the book in our show notes so our listeners can check out at our website. Every episode is we have show notes and other links they could check out. So just go to the FromEntrepreneur.com or actually FromEntrepreneur.com and you'll see the book. Okay, what is one of your favorite online tools or resources, and what do you love about it?
Online by now, with the cloud and everything, there are some things that I can't even imagine living without. But I don't necessarily appreciate them, maybe because I'm too used to them. But one thing that I started using recently, and I'm just like, okay, so I use email as my to-do list. Basically, every email that comes in, I don't have any unread. And if I...
You don't have any unread emails?
No, and actually, let me check my inbox right now. And I didn't really work much this morning because I was trying to set up my headset. So from last night until now, I have 22 emails. And that's basically...
Wow, that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to send you an email right now.
Yeah, so my email list is basically my to-do list. If it needs to be there, it's there. And I do use scheduling, meaning there are emails that are going to come back to me next week, Monday, because I'll have to take care of it next week. So that's not in here right now. But the thing that I really had a big problem with is with calls, because calls come in and I forget to call back people. I'm in a meeting. I start with one person, then I forget the next. And it was a huge pressure on me to remember to call back people. So I signed up to Umail. It's a subscription.
Umail.
Yeah, it's a subscription-based. Now that actually, if you told me about the notes, I think maybe I'll see. Maybe I'll be able to send you some unique code, which they give you 60 days free. I don't know, the
oh, okay, great.
Referral, whatever.
Right.
So something like that. So maybe your listeners will be able to get some freebie over there. A little.
Excellent.
So I don't know how much it's a month. $5,
right.
something around there, $5 or $6 a month. And basically what happens is that it moves your voicemails to the cloud. And what it means is that I get an email every time I have a missed call and a voicemail, email with a voicemail attached every time someone leaves me a voicemail. So what that does to me is it puts my missed calls into my to-do list, which is
fantastic.
So that was really something that changed everything for me when I went into this line.
That's great. I mean, that's exactly the type of stuff that we're looking for in this podcast. Like these little hints and tools that just make a huge difference in your work, in your entrepreneurial journey. Okay, what was one thing you've purchased recently for less than $100 that's had the greatest impact on your life? People love this question.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that's going to come to my mind is something weird.
And it can't be like a pot of cholent or anything like that.
Okay. You know what? The one thing that it's extremely probably is going to be very weird to some people. So I'm really sort of embarrassed about it. Not embarrassed, but sort of it's not. And it actually is beyond the limit. Is below the limit by a penny because it was $99.99.
Yeah.
So it is something called Mindwave Mobile.
Mindwave Mobile?
Mindwave Mobile. So basically, I read about it and I had a conversation with someone about the way the brain works. And I was telling the person, I don't know if you heard about Inert Health by the Ben-Zion Tversky. I don't know if he's a son of Rebbe Avram or a brother.
Yeah.
He basically has like a program of bringing sort of calm to people, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a concept that's called being in thought. That's basically when you need to make a decision and you're thinking about everything and you're thinking so much that you can't even make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I told that person that there's tools that can tell you what type of speed your brain is running at. And
oh, wow.
Where a person was like, no way, it's impossible. So I just had to buy it. And I actually like it a lot because at times when I'm nervous, I think that I'm thinking that I'm productive, but sometimes I get a little suspicious that, I'm just thinking in the Voltaran and not doing anything while thinking. So when I put this on, sort of it has a graph. It shows you how much focused you are and everything. And most of the times it confirms that I'm just super hyped up and anxious rather than doing something. So it at least tells me, to take a little break and just continue work and start working rather than, we say mooing glaset, working hard, not doing anything.
Wow. That's great. That actually leads us to our next question, which is, what is something you believe in that others think is insane?
The truth of this question is that probably everything. I don't think there's anything that I believe that the whole world shares the same belief as me. There's definitely everything that other people, at least some people, think that it's crazy.
Right.
But the one thing that I see now that comes to my mind is when people are so into politics. And people are so this person, that person. And I believe that although it depends which party wins, it does not matter who in that party wins. I don't think that people have the freedom. In my opinion, whoever runs for office, at least that high up in office, is there because they want to be very powerful.
Right.
In order to become powerful, they're going to say and do whatever is going to give them the power of the people, which is their people.
Sure.
So no matter who, let's say no matter who wins the Republican nominee, if they become president, they're going to do whatever Republican voters want from them. So it might be a little 10% off, 10% up, but they're going to do the same things, sort of.
Interesting. You think that the appeal of that Donald Trump will listen to the people if he becomes the nominee, becomes the president?
In my opinion, he will. I think so, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's interested in becoming more powerful, but once he's going to be in a position of power, he's going to want to keep it, and you can't keep it without pleasing people.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say that really it doesn't matter who becomes president or whatever, because really Hashem is totally controlling everything anyway, and, he's not going to, America plays such a pivotal role in world history, especially where we are today, and, hopefully coming close to Mashiach's coming, that it's not going to be, he's not going to, Hashem is not going to leave it into the hands of man who's going to become the, the president of the United States. But
exactly, but I'm a big believer of Hishtadlus, and although Baruch Hashem Obama did not succeed with what he planned, what I think at least he planned for Israel, for the state of Israel, he was able to do a lot of Hishtadlus and trouble to them.
Right.
So,
but again, I don't think he could have done anything if Hashem didn't want it to happen.
Exactly. But
it brought a lot of people to tshuva.
That's very.
A lot of people. Yeah.
It's true. It's true, and it's a thing that I don't understand. I never spoke to Hashem, meaning in a way that he answered me directly when I asked them a specific question. Why did you do this? So I don't know. But to me, there is this part of Hishtadlus, and, if someone tries to make trouble, if you're a real Bel B'tuchen, you're probably calm about it. But I guess not in that madraiga that if you see that Obama doesn't want to give arms, whatever, money for security for Eretz that I should be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not going to. So to me, it does the reason.
Well, it should influence us to daven more, to daven harder.
Yeah,
I guess
that's the right thing to do. Yes.
I think there's going to be a lot of people davening harder if Trump becomes president. Okay, or Clinton for that matter. Okay, let me last question, and then because this has been fantastic so far, and I really appreciate your time that you've given to this program. But for the last question, when you hear the word successful, who do you think of first, and why?
Okay, do I need to be an unav in this question?
Well, it can't be you.
Can be me. I see. I'll tell you why. When I once heard that you can't know where a person is up to. The only time you know where a person is up to financially is when they file for bankruptcy. So the same thing is with success. I don't think that when I walk on the street that I can tell who is successful and who isn't, because even if a person is smiling, it doesn't mean that he's really smiling.
Interesting.
I had a person complain to me last week that he's like, whatever, Purim was away with his family, and where he lives, he doesn't fit in anywhere. So I told him sort of that let Purim be your lesson, that everyone is verstellt, If you don't fit in, just to fit in. Make sure that you fit in.
Right.
So to me, really, successful is a person that had something that he wanted to do, and he accomplished it. If someone feels like his place is to be a dayan and he became a dayan, then But if someone becomes a dayan because his wife wants him to become a dayan, or his shver, or his father, then I wouldn't call him successful, even if he is the biggest poisek adar. So
that's very interesting. Very interesting.
So, in the Gemara, we find that Shlomo Melech was, in all sense, in my opinion, at least successful after learning Kehelis.
Right.
But he understood, everything that he said, that he wrote there is like, so, if he would have written it today, he would have written every word again, It's like everything is so true in there. So I assume that he understood the word so well. There were no better times for Eden as like when Shlomo lived. So I would say that he was really successful. Rebbe, right?
Yeah.
So, and from there on, I'm sure there are many. Actually, I do have a friend that is very not popular, very not known. Very few people know him. But I know that he's extremely successful. And he does not drive a fancy car. But he has his life. Baruch Hashem, he has a beautiful family. And he has his life the perfect way he wanted it to have it. So, to me, that's the biggest way of success.
That's worth really thinking about, because people think that, hey, I guess what people define as success is not really what success is. And I like how you define it. You're saying somebody that does what he wants to do and is able to do what he wants to do and is successful at it, that's real success. Because just because in the guy who makes a lot of money and has a successful business, but he's miserable and it's not what he wants to be doing, that's not real success.
Exactly. And the credit for that actually comes from my wife, because I was actually, when I was looking at success in the beginning, when I started out, I was very materialistic about it,
Yeah.
And she pointed to me over and over again that whenever I bought something because I wanted to be successful, I wanted to have it, that it didn't move the success needle even by a drop.
Hey, you're not supposed to say that online. There's a lot of wives listening to this.
Yeah.
And now my wife can't listen to this episode. What, the new laptop is not integral to my being successful? I don't understand.
Yeah, it has. You don't see the apple in the back. It like lights up. You don't see it.
Right. You know how powerful that is to my inspirational thinking in terms of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so maybe you should make two versions of it. One cut out this line so people can listen to. So but basically that's it, and it was a huge eye opener for me that I learned over and over again, seeing it in action, how a new thing kept me exciting for 2-3 days, but then it wasn't worth anything. That taught me that it's being successful is a rachni digazach. It's not a gashmi is digazach, and having a lot of gashmias can make you seem, and acting can make you seem successful to other people, but to me it matters if I'm successful, not if other people think I'm successful.
Beautiful. And that's a great way to end this episode. That was absolutely fantastic. So again, Zishe, thank you so much for joining us on this show. Thank you so much for coming on board. It was so great to hear your story and to learn about what you do and everything you shared with us. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Zishe.
Thank you for listening to the From Entrepreneur Podcast with Nahum Kligman. We hope you learned something valuable, and we'll share this with your friends. For show notes, archives of previous episodes, and more information to help you start and grow your business, please visit our website, www.fromentrepreneur.com. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.